Hello, beautiful.
Hello, my love.
It is so wonderful to be here with you on the 101st episode of To Be Human. It's the first episode back after a 1.5 years break for me. So bear with me as I integrate back into this space. And it is the first episode face to face. So I wouldn't want to do it with anyone but you. Thank you and welcome.
Oh, that's so touching. Thank you very much for inviting me. And I'm also very honored to be here with you. And we have so many chat over the past few weeks.
Yeah, we
in
have.
general.
We have.
And I've always loved talking to you.
Me too. I don't know where this is going to go, but I know it's going to be deep and beautiful. So thank you. Yeah.
Thank you.
So as you know me pretty well by now. I like to go deep. I like to go raw. I like to go real. And we actually had a brief conversation about this before we press record. And you shared that you've been on some podcasts lately and they've been a lot more professionally oriented.
That's true.
And I know you well, and I know you have a lot of depth that I feel would be important and is important for you to share with people that I think know a little bit more of the surface level, Lana. And so where I want to start is actually a really defining moment in your life, a very deep moment in your life that I actually wasn't that familiar with. And then you just randomly shared it with me. And I was like, hang on, Lana, what is this? And that's actually around you experiencing homelessness at some point in your life.
Yeah.
Can we start there and you be able to share a little bit more about that experience for you?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't talk about that a lot because I feel like there's no platform for me to actually just randomly start talking about, hey, I was homeless one time, you know? And then, but it's almost like one of the things that we talk about things when we have overcome that challenges or those challenges, and then we can talk about it freely. So when I just randomly talking to you about like, oh, once upon a time I was homeless, I was living in my car. To me, it's nothing, but like looking back at it, yeah, okay, let's get into that. So I was working in Australia at that moment, and my dad asked me to come back to Malaysia to help him out with his business. So I was having this good salary, you know, like place and life in general. I was young at that moment. And so my dad asked me for that help, and I was like, okay, cool, I'll help him out. So I came back to Malaysia. I helped him out for 3 months, and I started to work for him. And at this moment, I didn't ask for salary or anything from him. I did get some commission and stuff, but you know, when you're young, what do you do with your money? You spend it. Right?
Only when you're young?
Well, yeah, pretty
I
much.
must still be young.
So after that, after 3 months, he got what he wanted from me, and I achieved the target that he wanted to have. And he told me that, you know what, you have good qualification, and I think you will do well in another company. And I was like, but why did he ask me to come back? Anyways, long story short, I told him that, okay, I moved back to the city center, and I told him that I need money to pay for my house deposit, because I didn't have that money to pay. You know, like deposit you have to put into just stagnant, doing nothing. I don't have that. I didn't have that. Coming back to, I was like literally like
We'll
present
get to
in
that.
present in that, at
We'll
that
get
moment.
to what that means.
That's true. Anyways, I told him that, okay, he said that we don't have money. I don't have money. But I knew that it was a lie. It's not possible. So when he said no to me, I was like, you know, becoming a rebel. I became a rebel because, you know, throughout my life, he presented red carpet in front of me. You know, everything that I need, he just got it from me like that. But there was this one time he asked me to figure out myself, you know, like I was confused. Like, what is happening? Like, why are you doing this to me, you know? And I was happy in Australia at that time. Anyways, so I was like, okay, you know what? Rebel mode on. And I was like, okay, you know, I'll figure this out. And then I started applying for a job, and I got it straight away. Like, for some reason, like, it's so easy for me to get a job at that time. It was amazing. So working at this job, and one of the things that my dad taught me is that do not rely on people, you know? And it's not that you cannot rely on people. It's just that he wanted me to be independent in some way.
Yeah.
You know, and also independent to him. It depended on him, I think. That's what he wanted. But anyways, I stayed at my friend's place for a while, but I didn't do it all the time because I felt uneasy when I did that.
Feeling dependent on someone else, right?
Yes, exactly. And then, okay, long story short, it was back and forth, you know, staying at this friend. And then after that, I was like thinking about this. I have a little bit of money at that time. So this money, I can stay at this place and that place and blah, blah, blah. And then until at one point, I was like, okay, I can't do it anymore. I only had like $4 in my bank account.
$4?
Yeah, that was literally like 20 AED.
Wow.
20 dirhams. And I'm like, okay, cool. Whatever. I didn't even look at it. I didn't even look at the bank account at that moment. And then I continue working and everything. But for some reason, there's always like angels around to protect me, to provide for me. Anyway, so this is when, I worked at this company where it's a gastro bar that turned into a nightclub. So I finished work around 1 or 2 a.m. So this is the moment, like I went to my car, slept in the car, feeling scared, you know?
Yeah, talk to me more about that. That's a huge interest of mine in your story, in this part of your journey, is understanding what it's like to be a female that's learning to find her way in her life after being so dependent on her father with that red carpet kind of experience, to finishing work in the early hours of the morning and then going back to your car on your own. What were those nights like for you? Like, were you feeling, well, I guess instead of me putting words in your mouth, how were you feeling? What was your thinking back then in relation to that?
Well, I was a little bit scared. I'm not going to lie because, you know, I'm a girl and it was really late at night. And I was keep on thinking about this, like, okay, hopefully I'm safe. Hopefully I'm safe, you know. And I had to bring my car down, you know, to like a flat so that you can lay down so no one can see through. And also I kept on thinking about this because I feel like if someone could, I mean, like something bad could happen to them, like imagine me. And then I have zero survival skill until today. I'm just going to be honest about that. Until today. If you put me in jungle, I think I'm just going to be like, okay, take me. You know? I told you about hiking.
Yeah. We'll make small steps with that.
But yeah, I mean, I felt really scared and I was like, keep on thinking about like, hopefully I'm safe, hopefully I'm safe. And thank God my car has some tinting, so it was quite dark. But still, like my back seat was my wardrobe. I changed and then like in the morning I kept on thinking, okay, where do I go to take a shower, to wash my face, to brush my teeth, for example. And these are the constant thought at that moment.
What about the feeling? Because I've read a lot of your Instagram posts and there's a few that kind of relate back to you feeling like there was a part of you that almost grew up somewhat alone, quote unquote. And I feel like this aspect of being alone versus loneliness is something that you've explored in your life and something that you share with your audience and the people that follow you. What did you experience during that time of going back to the car, sleeping in that car, physically alone? Did you feel that sense of loneliness at the time? Was that where you kind of learnt that lesson, or what was that like for you?
No, I feel like I've been alone throughout my life. And because I grew up by myself. I mean, like my parents are there, but I always grew up with cleaners, helpers, you know, around. They were always working. So I don't feel lonely. I feel alone. But that alone is not equal to loneliness. So when I was, you know, doing all of this and trying to overcome this, you know, being alone in the car, I didn't feel lonely. No, I did not. Because for some reason, I feel like there is a higher power. I know it's a little bit deep, but I feel like
we want to go there, Lana. If there's any place, this is the place.
I think that would
Talk
be
to me.
amazing. I feel like there's like a higher power around me that's always protect.
Just gave me goosebumps.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that protects and always provides. That's why, like, if I look at it, if I remember it again, I look back at my bank account. You know, like the picture is vivid to me. I look at my bank account and that amount. I'm like, yeah, cool, whatever.
Wow.
And then I walk, and I remember I was looking up to the sky and all of these trees, and the birds are singing, and I was like, oh, that's so beautiful.
Wow. That is beautiful. Yeah. Where do you think is that something that you've always felt is innate within you, or is that something that you've been taught to have that deeper connection with something more spiritual?
I feel like it's always with me. And when I did, I mean, like, obviously I did a lot of healing as well. And one of the things that I did is that going back to the time that I was just born, to the spark, to the time that I was just conceived. Now, at the time and place where I was born, like, I was just born, I saw like like these warriors around me, like kind of like holding the protecting shield. And it's almost like, and I keep on questioning it, like, what is that? What does that mean? Is it aggressiveness or is it protection? And then I seek for some answers from some of my spiritual friends. And then we go deeper about that. Yeah. And they mention that that's your warriors protecting you. And I think that answers so many things that happened to me before, when the homeless time. And I feel like, okay, what's next? And the funny thing is that, like, during the time that I was having that homelessness moment, yes, I was thinking about, like, scared about nighttime, like, would someone knock on my door or on my window, asking me things to open the door or something. I was scared about that, but at the same time, I also knew things are going to work out.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah. I feel like that's such a powerful lesson. For me, I've learned that lesson. I don't feel like it was always innate within me, like you, but I feel like that lesson for me as well has been such a powerful lesson during those challenging times, having that deeper connection with the unseen.
Ooh, the unseen. I like that. Haven't thought about it. I feel like it's like a wind, Yeah, it's like it's always around. And when I need an answer, it feels like the wind blows at me. Beautiful. And I kind of like get the answer. I don't know.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It does. Do you ask questions out there for the wind to blow the answer? How does that work for you?
No. Most of the time I just ask to show me signs. And then it can be numbers, it can be wind, it can be someone said something that kind of like resonated with me. Because, I mean, like, remember, like, all of the things that you're seeing, feeling, or experiencing, it can mean nothing to you, but it can be so powerful to you to kind of like notice.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah.
So why, when I ask for signs and I feel the wind, I heard something being said in a certain way, and I saw numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. I had a day only a few days ago where I really had this moment of deep connection with the unseen, and very similar to you, just kind of put it out there, a few things, and then all of a sudden within my range of perception, like, all those synchronicities happen. And I know that you and I have spoken about this. For me, I believe that synchronicities are milestones in our life, just pointing us, are messages telling us that we're on our true path.
That's true.
But I think it also takes being open to that relationship, that there's something else out there for you to co-create with.
True.
And anyone that I know that has that relationship of co-creatorship in this world, whether it's with the universe and it's more spiritual, or whether it's with God and it's more religious, whatever it manifests as, it's always very similar in the lesson and the teaching and the way and in the relationship with God or the universe. And the people that I know that have that seem to just have more grace in their lives, less stress in their lives, but it all comes from that foundation of trust and faith. And I think that's some of the most difficult part of it, is to understand that it's not just about having trust and faith in those beautiful moments of gratitude where you feel like everything is flowing and the wind is blowing answers to you, but it's also understanding that in those challenges, like challenging times, to have gratitude during those moments, that's the hardest thing, and to have that trust and faith during that. And I think that's where life continues to challenge us, for us to really be able to show our sense of trust and faith. And I think it's when we can show that, we overcome our challenges, we grow, and then we continue in that right direction.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. That's so beautiful how you put it. It's so deep as well.
Yeah.
I feel I'm so resonating with that, because I think trust and faith is one of the things that I continuously believing in and doing and like following through.
Yeah.
And I mean, like one of the things that I like about, like, when you asked me this question, right? You did not ask me, so you were homeless, and then how much money did you make after that? You know what I mean? Like, how's your life now, for example?
Yeah.
My life now is amazing, if that makes sense. But you were asking me, how am I feeling? And what did I feel at that moment? And what did I learn from that situation?
Yeah.
Because it makes you, the situation actually, the situation makes you who you are.
Totally. That's such a big reason why I've worked with high net worth people and high achievers. And what drew me to that in the first place was understanding, and I mean, this is called to be human, right? I've experienced enough, I've been around long enough to understand that the person that each and every one of us looks up to has had a similar amount of pain and suffering in their life and will continue to.
Yeah.
And I think, let's refer to your followers on social media, for example, because you have such a beautiful presence there. You're all about the soft life, mindset, femininity, also luxury. And I think people that come into your page not wholly knowing you may think that Lana's always had this life of luxury. Yeah. And when she talks about mindset and manifestation and abundance, well, of course she can speak so easily about this because that's what she's like, all she's ever known. But I think the power in your message and your coaching and your mentorship is for people to understand that it hasn't always been like that, and that you've been able to, through mindset, manifestation, and that sense of abundance, being able to pull these things into your life that you currently experience.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. What was your question about this?
No question.
That's a statement.
Just an observation, because I think it's important for people to know this about you, about me, about anyone and everyone. I think we went through that phase, particularly with social media, when it really got big, of everyone putting their best foot forward. And I'm by no means encouraging people to get on their hardest day and say, hey, this is what's going on. I think there's a time and place. But as you sort of spoke to earlier in the conversation, we can now speak about that homelessness because you've moved past it and you've learnt the lessons and you've moved forward and you've been able to integrate that into your life. And I think that's where the power is. I don't need you to come on and talk about things that have a sense of suffering in your life right now. Like, that's not necessary. Yeah. But I think when we're able to move through and grow and overcome through these challenges, in my perspective, it's important to be of service and contribution to humanity by sharing, hey, you're not alone in your suffering. And I too have also experienced this, and this is what I did to move through it. And it may work for you, it may not, but at least we can continue to connect through that deeper sense of humanity.
That's so true. I mean, one of the things about like the homelessness situation where I experience is that it makes me believe in myself even more than I did, and it changed the person I am today. I'm more resilient. I'm more consistent. I'm more assertive in my decision. And that's why when it comes to decision making, I can make decisions so easily because I know I am the person who's responsible for my life. Doesn't matter what you tell me, that person tells me, my partner, my mom, whoever, telling me like, oh, maybe you should do this, maybe this is better. No, I know. I've done that. I've gone through that hardship of being alone. When I asked for help, very little come back to me and say, I'll help you,
Yeah.
And at that moment, like this kind of like shaped me to, yes, I can be feminine and soft and everything, but also know that I'm very strong. I'm grounded.
Yeah.
I know who I am. I know what I'm capable of doing. That really changed everything in my life. If I have to start all over again, which I know I won't, touch wood, but I know exactly what to do next,
Yeah, it's beautiful. I absolutely love that. And it's something that I really honor within you. And I know that you learn a pivotal lesson from your father in that sense of deep like self-belief, and you walk the talk, and you're one of few people that have actually been able to witness in person how much you do that. It's very inspiring. Talk to me about this deeper sense of self-belief, and particularly in relation to, there's a theme with this with you, and it seems to be like, don't care about other people's judgments. And I said that really softly, but I feel like you're quite savage with this. I'm kind of like, don't worry about it. Like, off in the air with the rainbows, and you're like, don't care. Like, full stop. Yeah, fuck that. Like, stop fucking caring about other people's judgments. And I think that's been really powerful for me to be around you, because I certainly have in my own personal life, that's been one of the tougher ones for me. I mean, part of even creating this podcast was that I was so afraid to speak. I was such a silent kind of person, and everything was so internal.
It's so cute.
And here I am just being like in my own kind of energy, like, fuck that. I want to put myself out there, and I want to share my reflections and all this internalization. And I think being around you has been very powerful for me. So I'd love for you to share more with the listeners around that deeper sense of self-belief, and that really like, don't give a fuck what other people think attitude.
Oh my God, that's so amazing. That question alone, just amazing. And thank you very much for bringing this up, because I feel like I've got some feedback from my friends or people close to me saying that I'm quite savage and I'm quite like heartless or cold-hearted or something like this.
Okay, interesting.
To them.
Yeah.
But to me, I look at it as you know yourself better than anyone else. You're just afraid of owning it, And this judgment from people is nothing but their own reflection. So why would you care? That's the first thing. Yes, I love luxury. So what? Yes, I love to say whatever I want. So what? You judge me? You're not comfortable? That's not my fault. Then if something that is triggering you, if I say something like this, there's just one way you look into yourself. I'm saying this and it triggers you, but it's inspiration for other people.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the deep sense of belief, I think I got it from my dad, which he believed in. My dad and my mom specifically, they both believes in me. They both believe in me so much to the core that both of them, they let me do everything that I want. They support me every time, and I really appreciate that about them. And I think every child in this world should have parents like that, because it gives so much trust and belief, knowing that you can do it. My parents literally let me choose everything that I want. That means if I fuck up, that's on me. Right? So with that being said, you only can come back to yourself. This is my choice. This is my responsibility. I chose this. Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah.
Talk to me more on a deeper level around not caring what others think, because we get the surface level understanding about many things in life, right? And one of them being, just don't worry about it. Don't care what people think.
Yeah.
But I think on a deeper level, and I'll talk from my own experience, it's a deeper sense of disconnection from people that can be quite revealing around more of the human side of ourselves. That I feel like there's a biological part of us that is wired to connect and to belong in order to survive. And I think that's a huge part of what actually holds us back, is not necessarily the headspace of it, but it's actually the physical pain that we can experience by virtue of feeling rejected, not good enough, not accepted. How do you recommend people work with more of that fear? Like if we were to put aside, don't care what people think, but more about, how do I move through what feels like physical pain or is physical pain in relation to feeling like if I show up as myself and people don't like me or they reject me or they get triggered by me, there's conflict, anger, anything like that. What's your advice in moving through something a little deeper like that?
Well, when it comes to fear of judgment or fear of criticism or fear of not being good enough, sometimes it comes back to, or most of the time, it comes back to the deeper part of you, which is we have, how do I say this? So we grew up, right? We have our phases in life, baby, and then another baby. What do you call that part? Toddler.
It's infancy.
Yes.
We're a bigger baby.
They're a bigger baby.
And then we're even bigger baby. And then we become adult babies.
That's true. So we move through life, right? We have phases, baby, toddler, and then kindergarten, and then primary school, secondary, high school, and uni, and then to what we are now. And what I feel like, and what I always reflect back on a deeper part of me, because I always think about like, oh, what would these people say about me, right? If I do this, if I wear this, if I say this. And it's always like someone is judging you at a certain age of your life. So the question is, who's judging?
Yeah.
So you sit with that for a moment and then go back to, let's say you have this fear of public speaking, right? So in which part of your life that you experience that someone is judging you because of this? Someone's judging you might be someone's laughing at your speech, or someone's laughing at you when you drop the mic, for example, right? And this is not judgment. It's just something funny. You laugh when someone trip over. You get what I mean?
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that person's
sense.
judging you. It's just something funny. And sometimes we can be a little bit mean.
We create our own narratives, don't we? I think it's a combination, isn't it? Because I think where it comes down to is people will judge. And I've heard you actually speak to this, and I 100% align with your perception of this, is that people will judge. And you also have to understand that there's two sides to it. One, people will judge, and that's only a reflection of the judgments they have of themselves. And two, the way in which you receive that judgment is a reflection of yourself. So if something hurts you, it's a reflection of somewhere that needs to be healed.
That's true.
Words can only hurt you if you believe them. And so if I'm to say you're a purple elephant, we have a laugh. If I'm to say something that's a little deeper and personal to you, you're a little harder one to crack because you've done a lot of work. But there's some people out there, okay, you are not for me, it was you were not a good person. That was a huge one for me in my self-development journey. If someone were to say that to me, that would really pain me. But it wasn't about them. It was life mirroring back to me, where there was a place within myself that I could free myself and become more powerful by understanding why did I have a trigger around someone thinking that I'm not a good person.
Yeah.
And being able to free myself from that. So I think in relation to the wider perspective of us speaking about caring what people think, the lesson is in understanding that it's always going to be a reflection of your relationship with self. It always comes back to that.
Always.
And also that is the deepest and most challenging work that we can do. And I think that's why it's important to have people like you, people like me, that people can have a
release,
safe space to be able to talk about their deepest fears and their deepest wounds, to be able to actually develop a relationship with it, because it can be very difficult on our own, I think, because as we know, a lot of what you're speaking to, the conditioning when we're younger, the experiences we have are taking up space within our body right now because we've repressed them because they were so painful. But understanding as an adult that we now have the capacity, we're no longer children, we now have the capacity to be able to move through that pain. And also it can be a blessing to do it with someone that's also moved through a similar pain.
Yeah, 100%. I like this part because I wish someone showed me this, that you can work with someone like a coach or professional help in general. Helps so much.
Yeah.
You know.
And I think it can be, I know for me, I've been such an independent person for so much of my life that it was a huge stepping stone to actually be able to trust someone else with those fears, with those experiences, with so much of what's been repressed. I think all of us know, whether we have the deep awareness or not, that there's stuff within us that could be freed.
Yeah.
And I think a huge thing in stopping us is thinking that we have to do it on our own, thinking that we don't have the capacity to feel the pain, or not finding the right person to be able to experience that.
Yeah.
And so I think just keep a wide awareness out there, listeners, that you don't have to do these things on your own. And there are people that have experienced and been able to move through the same, if not similar, pains. And it does provide so much value in your life to be able to free yourself from those chains that possibly were attached decades ago.
Decades.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you look at it, like, would you be happy to continue living your life in pain and just keep it all to yourself for the next 1 year, 2 years?
Well, I
10
think that's
years?
what it is, Lana, isn't it? I'm sure you've experienced this with your clients. Like, I think there's a lot of people out there, including myself when I was in my 20s, that actually felt like a state of deep suffering and pain was my normality. It was like
Really?
life. Yeah. For me, it was like life is hard. I thought I was broken. I basically thought that the anxiety and depression was a life sentence, and that I was just kind of like being able to manage my way through life. That's genuinely what I thought was true. And so I think there's a lot of people out there that don't even quite understand that, hey, your sense of anxiety, depression, anything that revolves around that, you aren't malfunctioning, you aren't broken. It's just a message. It's a message for you that your body, your innate nature is letting you know. But do you have the spirit, the courage to be able to take a moment and listen to it?
Exactly. I love that so much, because this is so true. And considering like what are the things that I've been through, I feel like it's always a message. It has never the defining moment like, oh, I'm here forever. This is my life. I'm been put in this world to suffer. It's not the case.
Yeah.
No. I mean, again, like some people might say, for example, like one of my clients, she mentioned that could it be that some people manifest easily than the others? And with that being said, it could be, but it doesn't mean that you are put here in this world to suffer. That's not the case. You know, if you believe in God and if you believe in universe, whatever you believe in, you've been put in this world to experience what life has to offer to you, you know. And if you believe in God, let me just speak in this way, like God is the one that gives you experiencing. It is God that wants to experience beautiful things. It is God that wants to see beautiful things. And it is God that wants to put on beautiful clothes. It is God that wants to taste amazing food. You know? Yeah, it's to understand like every state of suffering is like an opportunity for you to become more free. Within this beautiful world. It's just a lesson. And you can't have like light without dark, right? That's true. And so it's to be able to meet these challenges with an open heart. And for me, I think to believe that they're always of service. Like if I were to say to you, you know, what were those most pivotal and important moments in your life? I'm sure a lot of them were some of your hardest. Yeah, which one do I pick? I know, like get the list out, right? Which one do I pick? Okay, the homeless or depression, suicidal thought, or the loss of my dad? Which one? Yeah. And I'm grateful that you brought the loss of your dad up, because I know that that was a really big one for you. And I don't think God makes mistakes. It's huge. And I think it's really accelerated you not only as who you are today, so beautiful and strong and authentic, and it's also really accelerated you in who you are as a coach and a mentor. I really feel like I've witnessed that in you, because this is where we get challenged, don't we? We have this superficial title, oh, I'm a coach or a mentor and I specialize in this, and then life's like, bang, do you mean it? Literally. Are you committed to what you're coaching? Are you walking the walk? Do these tools actually work? Do the butterflies and love and light work, or is there something else? And obviously we learn through those really difficult experiences that, okay, like
there's a lot to learn here and integrate. What do you feel like was the most important lesson for you in moving through something like that?
The loss of my dad.
Yeah.
That was huge on me. You know, when I lost my dad, I still kind of like keep it to myself. I did not express my pain. I even hide myself crying, not crying in front of my family, and I didn't even know why I did that. But anyways, what was your question again?
The most defining lesson, or just something that comes to your mind. It doesn't even have to be a lesson, but when you think about that moment in your life when it was such a big thing for you to experience, like what comes up for you?
That life is short, that you should enjoy every single moment, every single day of your life. You never know what's going to happen tomorrow. Just live in the moment. And that's why people always say, like, be present, right? Be present doesn't mean that you forget about all of your problems, or, you know, things that you need to pay, or things that you need to experience, or all of this thing. But be present in the moment. Like, when I'm having this conversation with you, I am having this conversation with you. I leave everything behind. So that's kind of thing. And about losing my dad, I feel like it brings me back together with my family in a way. I always know my family's there for me, but I have never really appreciated them as much as I would now. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, especially my mom. She's everything to me. And also looking back at the lessons that my dad left for me, it was a lot.
I mean, we're speaking about him today. Isn't that so beautiful?
Yeah.
Like, and I'm telling you as a friend that, like, him integrating this aspect of deep self-belief and don't care what people think is now influencing my life. Like, and that's just so beautiful, isn't it? How someone's spirit can continue to live on through other people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw the hardship in him. I saw like his, he's resilient and he's confident. And I remember when I was little, I heard some people said that my dad was arrogant. That's what they said. But now looking back, he wasn't arrogant. He was just confident. He was he was just confident, and he knows what he wants. He knows how he wants it to be. He stands his ground. He speaks the truth that he feels, you know?
Yeah.
He communicated so freely and openly, and people get offended by it. Because again, like, this is the reflection of...
Totally. It opens up people's feelings because it's just the lack of confidence within them that is being awakened. Exactly. And you can either develop a relationship and feel through it, or you can repress and blame and
we
kind
like
of put
to point
that
fingers,
out.
right?
We do.
Jennah is this, Jennah is that, Jennah is that. But then like 3 fingers come
totally.
back at you.
Damn. Another one. I mean, you know, that's actually been something that I have experienced in my personal life. I think when I was younger, I was a lot more insecure, and anyone that was like really confident, I would kind of label as arrogant. And I've really been appreciative that I've been able to get myself in a space where I actually really enjoy polarizing people, and I love witnessing them say certain things or do certain things where now, you know, if I'm on social media, I'll be like, oh, that's going to get some people and having a laugh
people
about
hating.
it. Yeah, really. It's like, it's so freeing. Like, even, you know, when I was younger, I used to be a lot more jealous as well. And like now when I see someone, if I might feel a jealousy, I'm like, oh, I love that, because I understand it's awakening a part of me that has been dormant or asleep.
Yeah.
And I'm like, thank you for waking that up in me. And so in line with that, I would say spending a lot more time with you, I've certainly been exploring a lot more of this feminine energy. And as a feminine mindset coach yourself, a question that I was thinking this morning that I think would be really valuable, particularly for female entrepreneurs and or executives, high achievers, women that are really ambitious and getting out and getting it. In my own personal life, I feel like, particularly as someone that's single and an entrepreneur, I'm protecting myself, I'm providing for myself, sort of similar, going back to that homeless time in your life, right? Yeah. It's like you can relate to the idea that as a woman, it is different to experience life than a man. And that may be controversial, but that's definitely how I experience. I feel like the level of threat that women feel throughout the day is just tenfold on men. So my reflection was, this energy of protecting myself, providing for myself feels very masculine to me. It feels like a lot of my day is spent in this masculine energy, and it feels necessary. What is your recommendation for someone like me, someone like a female entrepreneur out there, particularly someone that's single, that feels like they live a lot necessarily in that masculine energy? How do we bring that beautiful feminine energy into our daily life?
Yeah. And if you get triggered by this, means, you know, it's worth to look into.
And cut. I'm ready.
Again, it comes back to, well, first I want to say the sense of believing in yourself.
Yeah.
But again, the problem with women that I notice is that the art of receiving, the act of receiving. Most women are not open to receive things. And how it looks like this. It looks that you are putting your walls up, not trusting other people, not trusting the journey that you're in, not trusting that tomorrow is going to be okay. Tomorrow is going to be okay. And there's more opportunities coming in for you, not trusting in the universe. And, you know, like the thing is that sometimes we keep on saying this, like, oh, I believe in universe. I know it's going to come and everything. But then we're doing everything the opposite.
Totally.
Which is closing ourselves up, not sharing what we feel and what we're going through with other people. How can other people help you when you don't open up? You know? And I think this is one of the lessons that I have learned a lot. Every time I go through my hardship, for example, I was alone. When I was homeless, I was alone. I didn't have a man to help me out. Not my dad, not my partner. At that time, I was single. But I was open to receive. And the help actually came from different aspects. For example, every night I had 5-star meal because I work in a bar, right? So this bar is 5-star, and I have meal every single night because all of these clients, the customers, buying me food, wanting to feed me for some reason, but they are happy to do so. I didn't even ask. And my friends wanting to put in petrol for me because I was driving this person to another place. For example, this is the art of receiving. And it could look in other ways, like when someone comes to you and they wanted to listen to your problem, like asking you, hey, how are you? What's going on? Like, is there anything that I can help you? Most of the time we always say, I'm fine. I'm okay.
Yeah.
All is good. But
It's so true.
Yeah, but actually we have things going on, autopilot in the subconscious mind, thinking about, okay, how am I going to make the end meets and how am I going to get another opportunities in XYZ, right?
Yeah.
But then you don't really want to open up and talk about this. Why? Because, again, coming back to like the fear of judgment, or maybe people think that I'm weak if I share all of this thing. No, honey. Feminine energy is actually feminine power. It's so powerful. When you're in your feminine energy, it's just kind of like opens up to a lot of things. When we talk about feminine energy, it's also flowing energy, which means receiving. If you look at a river, it keeps on flowing, right? Nonstop. There's a lot of abundance in it. Yeah. We are like that, like just like a river. We keep on flowing over and over again. And if people throw flowers on us, we receive it. We keep on flowing.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. So to kind of finalize this, I know that a huge passion of yours is manifestation. And so if we were sort of end this conversation on a beautiful lesson around beginning to bring in those things that we truly desire in our life and not be focusing on the things that we don't, what would your advice be?
Focusing on the things that we want?
Yeah. Because I think that our default, I feel like really in the world right now, there's quite a state of fear and scarcity and not having enough and prices rising and all of this.
Inflation.
Yes, right? We all know the story and narrative that's happening at the moment. What is your advice for possibly moving out of that space into being able to really focus with an open heart on what we do want versus what we don't want or that we don't have?
Yeah. Okay. Beautiful, beautiful question. I feel like when you catch yourself saying something that you don't want, stop for a while and think about what you want instead and say it exactly as it is. For example, I don't want to be broke. I don't want to spend money this week. What do you want instead? You know,
Beautiful.
so you change that narrative. I want to have money by the end of this month. That's all. That's your focus, because we all have pictures in our mind. When we say something, it forms a picture. And this picture presupposes everything that you feel and think and behave. And with that being said, like whenever you change your focus is everything. Because one of the things that about let's talk a little bit about information that we gather from our five senses, what we see, what we hear, what we smell, what we taste, what we feel, is that this information that we absorb, like right now you and me talking, I did not notice there's a sound going on behind because I'm just talking to you. So we filter out a lot of things, right? So imagine if something happens to you in your life, particularly not a very beautiful thing, right? And if your sole focus is on that bad thing, you missed out on 40,000 more information that could be beautiful to you. But again, like speaking about this, it's so easy for me to say it, right? But it's not that easy for people to change it, because sometimes we've been conditioned to look at things this way. As a human being, we're conditioned to feel fear. We're conditioned to fight or flight, right? And with that being said, train yourself. I don't come to this world being like this straight away. So do you.
Yeah.
Right? But we do the practice. How much do you want it? You know, how much do you want your life to be like? And if you continue being like that, then don't blame other people.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's beautiful to be able to really put that sense of intensity on, like, how much do you want it?
Yeah.
I think that's really powerful for people to reflect that your current experience of life is very much a reflection, a mirror, a hologram of what is going on internally. And for you to be able to appreciate, and what Lana is saying, that whatever is manifesting in your life right now is a representation of what you've been focusing on. And if you want your external to change, it's important to change that internal first.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for this beautiful conversation. Thank you for showing up authentically, vulnerably, holding my hand throughout the the first podcast back after a very long time, and face-to-face is just delicious. I can't wait to do more. For any of the listeners, I'm actually currently living in Dubai, so it's going to be quite the experience with the different guests that are on. I'm really excited to share it all with you. I'd love to ask you one question. I've been deliberating whether I'm going to continue. For any of the previous listeners, I normally end with a question that is quite important for me. And I think I'm going to continue it until I don't feel like it fits. Final note, Lana. What does it mean to you to be human?
It means to live life to your full potential. It means to experience the level of consciousness that you have, the self-awareness, and to connect with yourself, with who you are, discover who you are, and feeling the sensation that we have as a human being, whether it's positive or negative, it doesn't matter. And pursuing your goals, forming relationships, and challenging the questions that you have about your existence and your purpose in life.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Welcome.